My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. Days ago, a story broke in the New York Post that's the kind of thing that makes you sad and mad all at the same time. We're going to take a look at it because there's a lot of questions I've got about this, and I've got a lot of commentary on top of the questions. And then I'm going to show you something that if you think the initial story is bad enough, just wait, it's about to get worse. So let's get into this. This is an article from the New York Post written by Bernadette Hogan and Kate Sheely. Headline: Homeless vets are being booted from New York hotels to make room for migrants, advocates say. Getting into the guts of the story, nearly 24 struggling homeless veterans have been booted from upstate hotels to make room for migrants, says a nonprofit group that works with the vets. The ex-military, including a 24-year-old man in desperate need of help after serving in Afghanistan, were told by the hotels at the beginning of the week that their temporary housing was being pulled out from under them at the establishments and they'd have to move to another spot, according to the group and a sickened local politician. Quote, "Our veterans have been placed in another hotel due to what's going on with the migrants," said Sharon Tony Finch, the CEO of Yerrick Israel Tony Foundation. Tony Finch, a disabled military veteran, created YIT to raise awareness of premature births as well as helping the homeless and low-income military service veterans in need of living assistance. Reading a little bit further into the article, Tony Finch said 15 of the veterans got the heave-ho from the Crossroads Hotel in Newburgh, about 60 miles north of New York City in Orange County, a new epicenter of the Big Apple's migrant crisis since Mayor Eric Adams began busing Gotham's overflow there against local officials' wishes. The other 5 displaced veterans were split between 2 other local facilities, the Super 8 and the Hampton Inn and Suites in Middletown, Tony Finch said. Now, I've got a question, and let me back this up and explain this too. This group basically works, as the article says, with homeless veterans, and they had made arrangements to set up a 4-week program where homeless veterans could at least get some temporary housing, get them off the streets until, this organization could help find them a longer-term solution. An honorable and very noble goal. Now, as far as the money that makes this project happen, I don't know if they went out and raised it on their own, if they got grants from state or federal organizations. I have no idea. But all I know is that a private organization on their own is footing the money to help homeless veterans get off the street. However, the mayor's office in New York City has taken it on themselves to get these folks booted, and now they've had to relocate to a different motel somewhere. Now, my first question is this. What role does the Crossroads Hotel have in this? Because it seems to me, if you've agreed to let someone stay at your motel or hotel at a particular rate, whatever that dollar rate is, you've negotiated, it's agreed to, and they're staying there for X amount of days based on this rate, that cannot be violated, absent somebody breaking the law, the veteran, doing something that breaks the law, that would be a legitimate understanding. But to just kick them out so New York City can send up migrants is just a little bit more than preposterous to me. But we'll read further into the article. Moving on. Let me find. Tony Finch said the hotels didn't explicitly say the vets had to move because of the migrants, but it was clear to her that was the case given the timing. All 20 of the booted veterans have ended up in Hudson Valley Hotel, 20 minutes away, and the Post was asked not to name the site. Tony Finch said the veterans had originally been set up to temporarily stay at the 3 hotels for up to 4 weeks until permanent housing could be found. The vets were about 2 weeks into their hotel stays when they got the boot. Quote, "Now we have to work from ground zero. We have just lost that trust with the veterans," the organizer said. And that is true. That's huge. Because these are veterans. And here's something else to point out. quote, a lot of them are Vietnam veterans. We do help them on a constant basis to help get benefits and help find them a place in society. Now, I'm not going to sit here, ladies and gentlemen, and pretend to tell you that I know everything about the homeless veteran crisis or as it relates specifically to Vietnam veterans. But these are men who served at a time of extreme conflict here in America at home. They wore their country's uniform. They went overseas. When they came back, they were treated horribly. While the war was going on, they were treated horribly. And they still suffer a lot of scars from what happened back then. And then you have something like this happen, and this is just absolute garbage. We'll go further into the article. State Assemblyman Brian Maurer, a Republican who helps represent Orange County, said, quote, shining a light on this is important because we need to make sure these hotels know how important it is to respect the service of our veterans before they kick them out of hotels to make room. They really ought to think about the impact on these people already going through a traumatic time. Now, by the way, for the record, that condemnation of the actions of the hotel and the mayor's office was bipartisan. Let me show you a reaction from Pat Ryan, who's a Democrat U.S. Congressman. He represents an area of New York that's affected by this. This is from his Twitter page. Quote, this is bullshit. And he's not wrong about that, by the way. 20 veterans lost their housing tonight because of the incompetence of the New York City government. I'm doing everything I can to ensure these service members have a bed to sleep in tonight. Let me be clear, this will not be tolerated. Another U.S. representative, Mark Molinaro, from the New York 19th, this is absolutely inexcusable and should not be happening in America. This is the result of incompetence and a lack of compassion. Oh no, there's one other reason for it, sir, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. This will not be tolerated. Going back to that article from the New York Post, Sharon Tony Finch says the following. She believes it all comes down to money. Quote, they, the hotel, want to get paid more, referring to what her group shells out to get the vets housing compared to what the city is paying for each migrant. That's so unfair because at the end of the day, we are a small nonprofit and we do pay $88 a veteran to be there. While it's unclear what the city is paying upstate, various reported deals between the Big Apple and Manhattan hotels have called for payments such as $190 a night, part of an estimated $4.3 billion migrant price tag for taxpayers through the spring of 2024. Unbelievable. And that's another question I'd like to have answered, ladies and gentlemen. I'd really like to know, just what exactly did New York City agree to pay this Crossroads Hotel? I mean, look, the article comes out and tells you flat out what this small little nonprofit was able to do. $88 a night, which, okay, may not be a lot of money, but you've got money coming in. Your organization agreed to this. You said these veterans could stay here for 4 weeks, and each night, the nonprofit will pay $88 a night per veteran. And now, all of a sudden, you're kicking these guys out because you can get a better price tag? I mean, do you folks at the Crossroads Hotel, have you got no shame? Seriously? But anyway, let's get back into this article. Adams began busing migrants flooding the city to the Crossroads on Thursday, hours before a key federal immigration rule change was set to take effect and feared to increase the influx even more. His Honor's move spurred a vicious war of words between Adams and officials in Orange and neighboring Rockland County, where the mayor also has threatened to bus migrants till a lawsuit at least temporarily blocked the move. Mayor said it is outrageous that veterans are getting caught in the crossfire of a migrant crisis. For these people only being out there a few weeks and then to be told to have a level of trust developed, hey, you have to get out of here, that's not right. One thing I'm doing is my staff and I are putting together care packages to let them know, listen, we're embarrassed by this. We put a bunch of things in the care package as well as a card to say to the veterans, thank you for your service. Okay, that's the article. I have numerous questions, okay? Now let's just start with the basic ones. What dim-witted dillweed inside the New York City mayor's office thought it was a really good idea to take money, pay a hotel who's currently housing veterans of previous foreign wars that the United States has fought in, and take these veterans and boot them out? Which dipstick wants to step up and own that one? My God. I mean, how stupid are some of you people up in New York City that run the government? Really? You have the unmitigated gall to do this to homeless veterans who are staying there temporarily just so you can solve your problem about migrants coming into the Big Apple. It's just unbelievable. I mean, and that gets to something else. And this one is for His Honor, the Mayor, Eric Adams. I'd like to know something, and I'd like you to answer this question, sir. Please explain to me why it is you're not willing to try to solve the problem of migrants in New York City. Your solution is not a solution, sir. It's a pressure release valve. You're trying to get them out of New York City so you don't have to deal with them, and fat cat contributors of yours don't have to deal with them, and people don't have to be complaining to you all day long about it. You're not solving the problem, sir. You're just shuffling it off onto someone else. I don't blame officials in Orange and Rockland County, New York, screaming at you over this one. They ought to. And by the way, that gets to one more thing I'd like to say to you, Mayor Eric Adams. Why are you being so damn gutless? That's right, you're gutless, and I'll tell you why. You've got this problem in part because mayors like you and others all around the country will not stand up to the Biden administration, look them in the eye and say, no, you're not. You are going to control the border. You're going to control migration into this country. We are not going to be made to suffer for this. You're not going to be shipping your problem onto us so we can go ship it onto someone else. You, sir, are gutless. You, the mayor of Chicago, the incoming mayor of Chicago, every other big city mayor in this country ought to get together right now, issue a declaration, bring as much pressure to bear as you can on the Biden administration and Alexander Mayorkas, the Secretary for Department of Homeland Security, screaming at them, telling them you've got to shut down the border. But you won't do it. You will not do it. And in the meanwhile, your city suffers and the surrounding area of New York City suffers. Oh, but lest you think this problem is about to be confined to the homeless, let me show you something I found as I was getting ready to record this video. Take a look at this. This is really interesting. New Yorkers say their hotel rooms are being canceled and given to migrants. In an article written by John Binder, as illegal immigration overwhelms the United States as a result of Joe Biden ending Title 42, New Yorkers say their hotel rooms they booked months in advance are now being given to newly arrived border crossers. A couple originally from New York but now residing in Florida told the New York Post about 30 hotel rooms they had booked at the Crossroads Hotel in Newburgh, New York, sound familiar, were abruptly canceled to accommodate border crossers and illegal aliens. Another couple from Queens, New York City said they had booked 37 rooms at the Crossroads for their wedding, but that the rooms similarly were canceled to make room for border crossers and illegal aliens. And now, folks, you want to know why that this is happening? Not just to veterans, but to regular folks, New Yorkers, and people from out of state. Let me reference back to that article from the New York Times that I flashed up on the screen. Take a look at this. There's one snippet in here that you really need to see. More than 60,000 migrants have arrived in New York City in the past year, according to the city officials, including 4,200 in the last week alone. Citing federal sources, state officials have warned that the weekly arrivals were likely to increase to as many as 5,000 per week with looming expiration of Title 42. More than 37,500 migrants are now in the city care at more than 120 emergency shelters in 8 larger areas. Okay, 5,000 a week, and there are 52 weeks in a year. That's about 250,000 migrants coming into New York City. Eric Adams, you're not going to solve this problem by shuffling it off on someone else. You need to grow a set and stand up to the Biden administration. But that's what I think about it. What do you think? As we start to wrap up this video, a few things as always. Number one, please hit the like button. Gives me, a small creator, all the help I can get. Number two, share the video around. Number three, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do so. And number four, leave some comments. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative, and I'll see you next time.